National Student Financial Aid Scheme is preparing for the new academic year. NSFAS is requesting that students submit all relevant documents with their applications to avoid disappointment. For more on this, we're joined this afternoon by NSFAS spokesperson Ishmael Mnisi. Thanks very much for your time. And this looks like a disaster waiting to happen. The scheme, we're told, has more than 630,000 bursary, 17,000 loan applications that are only provisionally approved because of this documentation issue.
Yes, of course, Michelle, we are ramping up our approvals on the applications that we have received. However, as you correctly stated, the challenge are the applicants who did not provide us with the necessary documentation to enable NSFAS to finalize the funding decisions. This is why we are making an appeal to them that they must submit the necessary documents for us to be able to make the final decisions on their applications. We have already sent messages to them. We are reaching out using mass media as well for us to make sure that for those who have not checked their email, they have not checked their WhatsApps, they must do so urgently and submit.
Ishmael, what kinds of incomplete information are we talking about here? What's missing from their applications?
Well, in a number of instances, there are 5 attachments that students are expected to provide us, depending on the type of applications that they are making. We have what we call an NSFAS declaration form, which must be completed by the principal or the social worker. We've got what we call the orphan or the vulnerable student declaration form for all those learners who are under 18 years. It must be completed by the social worker. And we've got the NSFAS consent form, which must be completed by the parent, the student, or even the spouse. And we also have the disability declaration form, which must be completed by all students or prospective students who are living with disabilities. We expect that based on the information that they've provided us, that they at least submit these forms for us to complete the processes.
So in terms of getting that message out to students, students who have these incomplete application forms, what is the difficulty that NSFAS is experiencing in ensuring that this message gets through to them and that they're able to complete the forms and to do so in time?
Well, currently we don't have any difficulties. We just want to ensure that the message gets across all students. We have communicated directly to students using their emails, using their cell phones, sending them messages on their cell phones, indicating the importance of them submitting these crucial documents. And we gave them about 30 days for them to do so, or else their applications would not be complete and would not be able to make the final determination on the status of their applications.
So that number that I read out at the beginning, the incomplete number for bursary and loan applications, I'm just looking for it here, 630,000 and 17,000 loan applications that are only provisionally approved because essentially the applications are incomplete. What is the date for that number, and have you seen an improvement if indeed you are successfully reaching out to these students?
Now, the numbers of bursary applications we have received, they are 890,599. And for the loan, it's 17,369. Mm-hmm. Now, out of these, for the bursary, we have approved more than 560 bursary applications. Majority of them are SASA applicants. And for the non-SASA applicants, these are the ones that we are currently looking for documentation. Yeah. And for the loan, we are currently processing the application. So the number 17,369 are the number of applicants, and then we are still finalizing on the loan scheme provision or approvals. Mm.
So what are the numbers for these incomplete applications, the students you're trying to get hold of?
If you take 560 that has been approved from the 890, the remaining are the ones that we are still looking for the documentation.
So that's a few 100,000 still, Ishmael.
Of course, that's why we are sending out this message that only 560 have been approved, and we're remaining with more than 250 to 300,000 of applicants who we still need to get documentation. We want those documentations for us to complete this process. As I'm saying, Michelle, we have reached out to them through their emails, we have reached out to them through their cell phones, and we are now using public media as well to call upon all students that have received our messages that they must take immediate action for NSFAS to be able to make funding decisions.
Yeah, and what would be the deadline for that?
Upon receival of the message, we're giving them about 30 days for them to respond to us, or their applications will be terminated.
Yeah, I'm wondering about, what could result in them not having access to their emails, perhaps not having access to their cell phones, whether there's another way that we can reach these students and so that this opportunity is not one that they miss this year.
Well, Michelle, we are doing everything in our might as NSFAS to reach out to the students, and hence our public messages sending, that we are sending out to, extend this message to them. We will continue to send them messages through all these platforms that are available to us. We are even communicating, on all our social media platforms to really make this call that they must check their statuses. They must talk to us so that we can conclude on these processes. And we want to do so that come beginning of the year, we don't have students who statuses have not been finalized, and then they are unable to get access to institutions on the basis that their funding has not been concluded. We're having a seamless process this year, and we want to maintain that status as an organization, that we give the funding decisions now, so that beginning of the year, when the institutions open, we then can even conclude on issues of accommodation. We can conclude on actual payments of the allowances, so that we start the academic year seamlessly.
Yeah, yeah. If, Ishmael, I am one of these students who has received provisional approval of my bursary or my loan, and I do not, for some reason, get the communication from NSFAS that my application is incomplete, and I show up for registration or orientation week, will that be too late?
Well, for those that have received provisional funding statuses, it means their applications are approved and there is no further documentation that they must send.
I see.
For those that have not received their funding statuses now, they receive the message that they must send the documents for us to complete this, to complete their funding decisions. But if they were to go to institutions, remember the criteria is two. There is a criteria for universities or colleges for admission, and there is funding criteria. For us, they would not have received communication from NSFAS regarding their applications, and they would go to the institutions. Institutions will admit them. However, there will be delays in their acceptance, provided that they are waiting for NSFAS to confirm their funding statuses.
So there's a possibility. There's a possibility, worst case scenario, if the student does not receive the communication from NSFAS that there are outstanding documents, that I could still register at an institution, and that I could start the new academic year. But then, obviously the issue would be, the consequence would be that the funding would be delayed.
Of course, Michelle, institutions work independently from NSFAS. They will be accepted. However, they will not be having funds for them to pay for their studies. And that's why we are reaching out to them to say, before you even go to an institution, receive this communication from NSFAS that confirms your funding, if you go to that institution, which, by the way, institutions also have access to our database, so they would know, as you reach to the institution that already you have been funded, NSFAS would have communicated to them. Now, if they don't have that communication from NSFAS confirming your funding status, it means you are not funded, and that will affect them severely, Michelle, because even when it comes to accommodation, when we confirm funding in the application statuses to, confirmation statuses to institution, we also confirm accommodation. Now, it will affect them severely if they do not turn up and respond to our messages by completing the forms that they need to be sending us. And we are really pleading with all students that they must respond so that we can be able to have a seamless commencement of the academic year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Ishmael, the message for anyone who has applied for NSFAS funding in the form of a bursary or a loan, for you to go online, check your status, check that all of your documentation has been received, even before the year is out.
Yes, Michelle, that is the message we want to put across, that they must check their statuses, and where they do not understand, they can reach us on our call center, they can use our social media platforms. We'll be there to assist them swiftly.
Ishmael Mnisi is the NSFAS spokesperson. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this afternoon, Ishmael. And that is an important message. If indeed you have applied to NSFAS for funding for the next academic year, please do go on and check the position of your application, whether all of the documentation is correct, whether anything is outstanding. You don't want to put your next academic year in jeopardy.